Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for being here despite the very nice weather that we are having today. My name is Nicola Plain. I'm the CEO of Aktionariat, and we use the Swiss DLT law to tokenize equities and make them tradable, and I'll tell you a little something about that in the next couple of minutes. So, how it all started. Lucius, one of our co-founders, actually released an article, a comment in the Neue Zürcher Zeitung in the year 2016, a comment about how beneficial it would be for Switzerland as an economy if we would have a DLT law that, as we just heard, would give you legal certainty to run your business. This article was followed by more comments and also academic contribution about this topic. But little did he know that just a couple of years later we would actually have a DLT law in Switzerland. Of course, the whole legislation process was respected, went to the normal formal steps. Lucius was actually also one of the advisors to the Parliament and Federal Council when it came to shaping the law. And then on 1st of February 2021, the first part of the law was enforced, which just allows us, for example, to issue shares on a blockchain as a token. And on 1st of August, the second part about DLT trading systems was released and taken into force. And as you can see from this nice little graphic here on the bottom of the slide, there were no votes against in the Senate, so that's a huge success, even though probably not everyone knew what exactly they were voting for or against. But still, of course, great result. And now you may ask, what advantages do we have from having a DLT law in Switzerland? And if we look at the application with equities of non-listed companies especially, then I think this picture says it all. Basically nothing changed from before when you had a paper certificate to now with a token. But of course, that's only on first sight. So let's have a deeper look here. So, in the past, if you had a share of a non-listed company and you wanted to transfer it, that meant you needed to have a paper, not necessarily the share on paper, but a paper with a signature from the buyer and the seller, just to have it legally sound. And then you would be the new rightful owner of the share if you have like a contract signed with the seller. But in order to have your shareholder rights, you would still need to reach out to the issuer, to the company, and make sure that you would also be part of the Aktienbuch, of the share registry of the company. So it's a two-step process, very manual. You need to have a paper, you need to have a signature on paper, and then you again need to reach out to the company. And now, with the application of the Swiss DLT law, this process can be made much more efficient. So first of all, a transfer of a share token under Swiss law is already a legally sound transfer of a share. So you don't need to have any contract, any buying, selling contract with signature on it. You just transfer the token, and this is a legally solid transfer of a share of a Swiss company. And if you use our tools to do that, so you send it from a wallet to an Aktionariat wallet, where you can register yourself, you would automatically also be in the shareholder registry of that company. So you would not only become the rightful owner, but you would also automatically get your shareholder rights because the entry in the shareholder registry of that company was automatically updated. So it's still a two-step process, but these two steps can be merged into one, be automated with just the transfer of the token. So even if on first sight these two graphics look exactly the same, actually there's a huge efficiency gain that we got from the Swiss DLT law. Okay, let's look a little bit into how blockchain and private equity, or how blockchain can be used in private equity to make things more efficient. What are the huge problems that we're having? There are mainly three problems that we detected, so it's a very exclusive thing. Usually the ticket sizes are quite high, So only high net worth individuals and institutional investors have access to these deals, to this asset class. And if you're invested in Switzerland, you're stuck with the investment for 7.5 years on average, because there is no real secondary market. So that means you must be in it for the long run. If not, you should rather not invest in private equity today. And then before you can even invest, you need to negotiate a price. So again, since there is no market price, so the price is basically always a negotiation between the buyer and the seller. So quite inefficient. And with the use of blockchain technology, we think that we can solve all of these three problems. So first of all, by making the transfer of the shares, because they're in a token form, much more efficient. You could also lower the ticket sizes, which then makes it more accessible, less exclusive. Secondly, you can create small markets, for example, using a AMM automated market maker smart contract. We will get to that in a minute, and then create more liquidity or make the assets more liquid. And by that also have more reliable prices, because if you have an asset that is traded a bit, then it's not just a negotiation between two parties, but there are several parties involved in the pricing mechanism. So let's have a look at how today in the traditional world shares are traded. So if a share is listed on an exchange like SIX or Nasdaq or wherever, you will have an order book, and an order book works extremely well. It's very efficient. It allocates the assets to the one that is willing to pay the most. But you need a lot of trades, you need a lot of liquidity for these order books to work out. Because if you don't have that, you would have large bid-ask spreads and very little trading that takes place. So that's why we tried a different mechanism, a very blockchain native mechanism, if you want. So we were inspired by Uniswap with the liquidity pool approach, and we thought that maybe work out for shares as well, in a bit different way though. So what you can do with our technology and based on the Swiss DLT law is, as a company, you can, of course, first of all, you tokenize part of your shares, and then you can offer them in a liquidity pool, a AMM smart contract. And on the other side of the pool, you can have a Swiss franc stable coin and define the price of the share, of course. Usually you start with selling your tokenized shares, and by that you're raising funds. But as you sell shares, the pool of crypto gets filled up, and you can decide to leave part of those cryptos in that AMM smart contract in order to finance buybacks. So now investors can not only buy shares from you, but they can also sell them back to you to the extent that you have liquidity in your pool. And that's a very simple mechanism, which leaves a lot of control also over the market to the issuer. So it's, we always say, a first step if you want to make the shares a little more liquid and have some price exploration mechanism, then this is a very good solution to start off with before you're big enough and you would have enough liquidity, so it's worth being traded on an order book based exchange. So we did that, as I said. So we developed our own small automated market maker smart contract that works, of course, a bit differently than the one from Uniswap. We call that the broker bot. That's the front end to it, and obviously it allows you to go on a website of a Swiss SME or startup and buy the shares directly on the website, but also, if the company allows, to sell them back to the company. And you can do that using cryptocurrency, obviously, but also with simple wire transfers, bank transfers. The smart contract is, of course, only one. The brokerbot smart contract, the AMM, is, of course, only one of the smart contracts that we have, and one of the tools. So overall, this is basically the front end where the investor can place the investment decision. Behind that, there is this widget, And the company steers everything in the background with a corporate dashboard. So that's where they have all their settings, their shareholder registry, everything they need to manage their shareholders and the market. The user can access the BrokerBot widget through the browser or our own wallet with an in-app browser currently. And of course, the admins can access the corporate dashboard through the browser. Let's have a look how the smart contract ecosystem works. So we have, of course, a share contract that contains all the functions to deploy a token that can represent shares under the Swiss DLT law, as we just learned. Then there is a multi-signature contract and the BrokerBot, the AMM smart contract. And this BrokerBot smart contract is also connected to a payment hub. We have a simple ERC20 smart contract that we use, but on top of that, we are able to wrap them in other token smart contracts to add some functionalities. One functionality that is extremely important in the startup space is the draggable contract. So if you want to perform an exit and you have a few shareholders, maybe you did even a crowdfunding at some point, you need to make sure that you can get rid of them if you want to sell the company, if you want to exit. That's why we wrap the base token in a ERC20 draggable contract, and the draggable contract allows you to, if the majority voted to sell the company, just take out the shares from the wallets of the investors and hand them over to the buyer and take the money and distribute it proportionally automatically to the sellers. So that's a very easy way to perform an exit, especially if you have quite a few shareholders in your shareholder registry. Of course, we also have a recovery mechanism. And as you can see, we built the smart contract in a very modular way. We don't try to make one smart contract with all the functionalities in it, but rather build it in a modular way. That's one thing that we are currently working on. The secondaries, we call it OTB instead of OTC, so over the blockchain. Secondaries, it's one thing that hopefully you will be able to do in the future is to place a sell intention on the website of a certain issuer. So you connect your wallet where you have your shares on with the widget on the issuer's website. You place a sell intention, you just state how many shares you want to sell, at what price, and then other people can come and buy the shares from you. And the smart contract in the middle makes sure that one party receives the agreed amount of shares and the other party receives the agreed amount of currency. That's one thing we're working on. But overall, there are 4 main use cases that we can cover based on the Swiss DLT law and the blockchain technology. It's an efficient way of fundraising, as we just have seen, because the transfer of the shares is done in a very efficient manner with the transfer of a token. Digital governance, so also things like digital GA or dividend distribution, for example, can be facilitated and made more efficiently, as well as employee participation, and as we just have seen, secondaries with different approaches. Overall, we built a tool that you can use from the seed phase to an IPO phase. As I just mentioned, for employee participation, for financing rounds, where we are adding more and more distribution channels, some crypto wallets where you can buy the shares through in the future as well. Shareholder management, but also custody as Swiss banks, which is very cool because we can build a bridge from TradFi to DeFi or vice versa. So if you don't want to have the responsibility over your assets yourself, you can go back to the traditional world and hand them over to a bank. And then secondary markets, as we said, through the BrokerBot, but also some more traditional exchanges that are also building blockchain-based stuff currently. To conclude, we have done this since 3 years now. We have 52 tokenized companies. We have more than 48 million Swiss francs in transaction volume, 26,000 users, and this is the chart of the monthly transaction volume. Thank you so much for bearing with me and your interest. And yeah, I hope to see you soon. If you have more questions, please reach out to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nicola. It's amazing. So this is how much you can do if a certain and stable DLT law is being formed and voted for in your country. So it's amazing. This is how sophisticated it can get. Now it's time for questions. Oh, we have a good few ones. So could you just maybe start with the gentleman? It's good that we spared more time. We do have time for a lot of questions, like 10 minutes if we need, so go ahead. It's not turned on yet.
1, 2. Yeah, that works. Thanks for the presentation. Just have a question. So it looks like a great technical solution. And the question is, on the regulatory side, like, are you selling shares to the public? How are you addressing the typical regulatory requirements of having a product disclosure statement and to have also to trade shares for third parties? Do you have a broker-dealer license, or do you issue a prospectus every time a client come online, or do you stay under the threshold?
Usually our clients stay below the threshold of 8 million Swiss francs a year. There is one that surpassed that and is now preparing the prospectus. So what we do is, especially in the beginning, we make sure that all the laws are respected. What we did in the very beginning is we asked FINMA, so the financial regulator in Switzerland, what they think about this mechanism with this AMM that I just explained before. And since there is no financial intermediary involved and no one really commercially making the market, we received a non-subordination confirmation from FINMA. So that means that even KYC, you don't necessarily have to do it. You as an issuer selling your tokenized shares directly to an investor. Still, we have such a module, and we make sure, of course, that everyone stays within the legal boundaries, also in terms of prospectus that you also mentioned. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. But as a broker-dealer, you're allowing other people to trade shares or to trade shares for other people?
So with the first mechanism where you always sell them back to the company, that's no broker-dealer license required. With the second mechanisms, we are just in talks now, or we just approached FINMA to see if we can also get a non-subordination for that. So it remains interesting. We will see how it turns out.
Thank you.
We have a couple of other questions further up. Could you put up your hands? How many of you approx would have a question? There's one up there, one up there. Nice. Good. We have a plan.
Very, very interesting talk. So if I understand correctly, shares could be represented literally by ERC20 tokens, yeah?
The shares are regular ERC20 tokens, more or less regular, yes.
So what happens in the case when there is some kind of flaw in contract and the tokens get hacked? Is it like potentially non-revertible on the blockchain, but then does it mean like the attacker actually controls the...
I didn't understand acoustically. Could you repeat,
I'll try
Sorry.
again. So smart contracts sometimes have flaws which can lead to hacks, which could transfer the tokens to some attacking party. So what would happen then? Do they keep the ownership of the company, the attacker, or is there a way to legally revert it, but not revert it on blockchain?
Yes, so there is actually a way to circumvent bad effects of something like that legally. So what you could do is basically you could declare all the existing tokens invalid and reissue them. You could also drag them away with this drag-along wrapper that I explained before. So you could drag them out of all of the investors' wallets and send them to a burn address later, or you could just declare them invalid and reissue them. Those are measures that you would typically only do in very extreme events. So actually that happened once, where one investor downloaded a fake MetaMask and inserted a seed phrase. And then, of course, the assets got stolen and were immediately dropped back to the company through the AMM. So the company had to stop the trading activities, And then what we did, basically, we used the drag-along mechanism to take away all the shares. And since they anyways wanted to switch from Optimism, they deployed them, or we deployed them on Optimism before, to Ethereum mainnet. We just took them away and then reissued them on Ethereum mainnet.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
We have time maybe for one or max two more. There was one up there, the gentleman. Amazing.
Thank you. Did I just miss it, or did you not talk about a module that you could add to your solution concerning the new register for beneficial owners in Switzerland?
The registration of the beneficial owner, you mean with the new law that is probably coming up?
It's not probably, it's certainly coming.
Yes, we also commented to that, and what we would hope for is that you could delegate the notification of the beneficial owner to a third party. Because in that case, if you use our toolset and our shareholder registry, we could make sure that in such cases, first of all, the investors would need to register and go through some registration KYC process. And then secondly, also that we, in an automated way, hopefully through an API or something like that, send these data to the central registrar. So it's still open, I think, how this law will be shaped in some details, and that's at least what we stated in our comment. Hope for that this responsibility can be delegated to a third party. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I recommend you contact the guys running EasyGov at the State Secretariat for Economic, because they are just implementing that registration.
We just we took part in the Vernehmlassungsverfahren and handed in a comment, but you would suggest we reach out through EasyGov as well.
Yeah, Martin Godel.
Thanks for the hint.
Amazing. Let's have, I think here in the front we had the gentleman. Sorry, I make you walk up and down. I'm just standing here.
It's a great delight to see you, Nicola. We met first time when you just started Aktionariat, and it's a huge success, so congratulations first of all.
Thank you so much.
My question here is about dividends. Is it just like trading shares, like buy, sell, or the investors through your platform are also entitled for dividends?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part. Or
dividends.
Ah, dividends, yeah. Dividends.
Do they just trade, buy and sell shares, or they could also...
You can also receive dividends. So as an issuer, you can, in a quite automated way, distribute them in the form of stable coins, for example. So that's also a functionality that we offer, or a use case that we can cover.
So did you automate the tax as well, like the 35% tax on the dividends when they're issued, or not?
So we cannot send it in an automated way to the tax authorities, of course, but we account for that, definitely. Also, in a tax report that you can download if you use our wallet app, you will also see the withholding taxes, for example, if dividends were distributed. So we account for that, but we cannot send it automatically to the tax authorities yet. Maybe in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. So I have a 30-second last question because we have no time for it. Sorry. So FINMA, those of you not being Swiss, FINMA is the Swiss regulator. And I believe that Nicola is one who could really give just a 30-second answer on how is collaborating and speaking to FINMA. We know how it is speaking and collaborating with SEC. We hear it out with Gary or whoever it is. How does that relate to FINMA? How does Aktionariat talk to FINMA?
I think there are probably other people that have more experience with that. What we did, we just exchanged a couple of love letters, and so far that's a great experience.
That did not work with Gary, I believe. Thanks a million. Put your hands together to Nicola from Aktionariat. Thanks very much.